Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Will you please rise and join me in the pledge to our flag? Oh.
Holy moly. You okay? Oh, I'm fine. You sure? I didn't hear me. Hear the chair.
Earthquake.
Where's the other one?
Okay.
Oh, go to the neighbor.
We ready?
We're ready. Yeah, so, there you go.
Okay, all right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It was too low here. And
Did it break?
This one did not. I was gonna take them to the back bench.
No, neither one broke.
Neither one broke. So.
Yeah, it was cut in the.
Your space here. It's pretty here.
Careful with it. Careful with hard finger.
All right. Let the record show all trustees are present and accounted for, with the exception of Trustee Barnes. No action was taken in closed session, and I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We're now at the area of public comment. Members of the public may address the Board of Trustees regarding any special board meeting agenda item during board consideration of that item. Please note that if you wish to address the board on an agenda item, you should do so when the specific item is called by the board president. Submission. To comment in person, fill out a request to be heard card and give it to the board clerk. Your name will be called and during the public comment agenda on that item. Secondly, if you'd like to comment online via Assembly, Gamut, meetings, enter your name and email address, and the board assistant will provide your comment to the board. And then finally, to submit your comment on YouTube, type your comment in the live chat, and the superintendent will share your comment with the board as appropriate. All right, now this is the time where this is the time right now where people can address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Please note that while we will not necessarily respond today, please know that we are listening and will take your concerns, your statements into consideration. On that note, is there anyone who would like to address the board on an item that is not on the agenda? Oh, okay. Well, we'll give her a moment or so. In the meantime, those of you who are watching on YouTube, feel free to get those comments in. Okay. You got that. I know you would get that one, huh?
I apologize. Thank you for
It's
listening.
okay.
I just wanted to update you guys on where we're at right now, because we're currently far into our testing and that's going on and we're working through that. But we did want to let you know that there are a few things going on at Robla Elementary, and next Thursday or the coming Thursday, we have our open house as well as our spring carnival. So we would love for any of you to attend that. And then the following Thursday, we also have Peter Pan, which our staff and our students have been working really hard on. So we would love for any of you to come see that as well.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Megan, are you going to send out invitations? In the past, you guys have sometimes done that. Were you thinking of doing that again this year?
I can put that on the list.
Okay. Or send somebody an email at the district office. Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any more comments? And with that, we will move on to reports. And we'll start with the Robla Education Foundation.
Nothing new at this time.
Okay. Robla Teachers Association. CSEA. Superintendent report.
Okay. Just one second. I got. Sorry. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to mention Universal Transitional Kindergarten in this as this school year kind of starts to wind down. I just wanted to mention that Robla continues to refine our approach to TK. We had our first ever work study session just yesterday, thanks to the leadership of Janine Marcoux. And it was a great opportunity for administrators to kind of process how this year has gone and to refine our vision for the future with TK. So we're really excited to continue to think about the future. One of the things we know we need to do is continue to market TK to our families. Our enrollment this year, we had 96 spaces and we only had about 62 students in TK. So we definitely need to continue to tell our community about the benefits of having their child in TK. And we have been working on that, and we will continue to work on that. We did want to also let the board know that we ran 4 classes this year, and we have had a lot of debate about how many we think we would need for next year. And we don't have a crystal ball, but we are thinking that 96 spaces should be enough. And so that is the plan. Right now, no additional TKs for next year. We will run with 4 classes again. This is Employee Appreciation Week in Robla, and we are pleased to have picnics at each of our elementary schools this week, along with having preschool join us at Bell, and the district office employees will join in tomorrow here at Robla School. Thank you to our nutrition services staff who are taking on that huge job, and they've been doing a great job all week, and we're really excited. We are working on distributing district gifts. There's been a little bit of snafu with the ordering, so some schools got a partial gift, and some schools haven't received anything yet, and we'll get that all squared away very soon. In fact, we made some significant progress today. I also want to acknowledge that many of the administrators are going out of their way to do some pretty nice things for their staff as well, and we're grateful for that. We are very excited to let the community know that we have, through our work with the mediator, reached a tentative agreement with the Robla's Teacher Association, and we are grateful to all of the bargaining team members on both sides for all of the work that went into coming to agreement here. The process needs to go forward in terms of ratification by the membership of RTA and approval by the board. And we are excited because this tentative agreement is a 3-year agreement. I wanted to mention the superintendent transition. Eileen Chen, our new superintendent, is in the room tonight. She has been with me all day, and she was with me all day yesterday. She has been very gracious about gifting us some of her time to make sure that this transition will go smoothly for everyone. And we are also grateful to Pittsburgh Unified for them allowing her to spend some time with us during these last couple months before I leave. She's been meeting with staff, and she's been having some great conversations with everyone about our district initiatives and participating in meetings. And so, Eileen, we're just really grateful for the time that you're investing now. And then finally, just some details about summer school. We are gearing up for summer school here in the Robla School District. We will have a START summer school program at Glenwood and Bell. We will have a Freedom School summer school at Robla. There will be 250 students between the two schools in START and 160 students in Freedom School program. We will be serving breakfast and lunch, and we will also be making meals available to the community. So anybody who's under 18 will also be able to come to our cafeterias, even if they're not in summer school, even if they're not a Robla student. If they'd like to make their way to one of our cafeterias to have food over the summer, they will be welcome to do that. We're working out transportation for summer school. There are plans for some pretty exciting field trips, and we are just beginning the recruitment process with families. So we're excited to offer this to our community this summer. And that's my report.
Okay. Board member reports. Trustee Devine,
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Cardona,
Nothing this time.
Trustee Hamilton Stark.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, I have a few items to discuss. One, the delegate assembly members for the California School Boards Association met with our local legislators, Assemblyman McCarthy as well as Assemblyman Hoover. You might know that Assemblyman McCarthy sits on the Education Budget Committee, and then Assemblyman Hoover actually not only sits on the Education Committee, but was a former school board member in the Folsom Cordova district. So we talked about a number of pieces of legislation that are being supported by the California School Boards Association, and he was quite receptive. And it's always good to have someone who actually knows what they're doing sitting on a committee. Secondly, on May 22nd, CSBA is going to be co-sponsoring an in-person budget workshop with Capital Advisors at the Sacramento County Office of Education. And that's going to be on, once again, Monday, May 22nd. It's going to be from 1 to 3, and you can register. You can register online if you go to CSBA, or if you ask me, I can send you the link if you want to attend. But it'd be a good way to kind of get an idea of exactly where things are looking in terms of the budget. So that's something that you want to keep an eye on. And the last thing, and two things on kind of a more of a personal note. My daughter had my first grandson.
Oh, congratulations.
So I'm now a grandfather 3 times over. His name is Jason William Smith, 4 pounds, 8 ounces. 6 weeks early.
Oh, wow.
6. He's still, you're right, yeah, he's still in the hospital. So we're hoping to have him home soon. And then finally, and this was something that actually I didn't say anything at the last board meeting because we didn't do an official announcement until the next day. But I've officially announced that I'm a candidate for the 6th Congressional District here in Sacramento. So it won't affect the job that I'm doing here, but I just wanted to let y'all know that if I seem like I'm running around with pulling my hair out or my hair seems to get a little bit grayer, you might know why. And on that note,
Thank you for warning me.
on that note, we'll move forward to recognition. And so we're now going to present and adopt Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Heritage Month Resolution number 894. And it reads as follows. Whereas the state of California is home to over 700,000 Asian Pacific Islander Desi American students from kindergarten through grade 12, and
whereas the diversity of these groups include but are not limited to Bengali, Burmese, Cambodian, Chinese, Filipino, Hmong, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Lao, Malayan, Okinawan, Pakistani, Thai, Vietnamese, Samoan, Asian Indian, and others. And
Whereas we acknowledge these Americans for their vast contribution to the growth in our district, our community, our state, and nation in the area of education, governance, agriculture, business, literature, science, the military, medicines, and the fine art. And
whereas the Robla School District has established that each and every student is to be celebrated and appreciated for the distinct and vibrant contributions made by sharing cultures, language, ideas, beliefs, and values within a community or within a school community, and
therefore, let it be resolved that the Robla School District hereby issues this resolution in honor and recognition of May 2023 as Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Heritage Month, and encourages all educational communities to honor and recognize the valuable contributions to our district as we celebrate Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Heritage Month. And with that, I will entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
so moved.
second,
It's been moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This motion is passed and adopted by the governing board of the Robla School District on the 11th day of May, 2023. And now we will move on to the consent agenda, but I want to pull 2 items out, and that is the approval for principal at both Taylor and Glenwood. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the employment of Michelle Crisp, principal at Taylor Street School, and Andrea Rodriguez, principal at Glenwood School. I'm entertaining a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There you go. Any discussion?
I would just like to say that, first of all, gratitude to Nicole Sullivan, our HR chief, for her thoroughness in always conducting a process that is very inclusive. We invited a teacher and a secretary from each of our schools to participate, as well as one of our directors in the selection process. And we are very excited to put forth these recommendations, both unanimous decisions by the committee.
I would just like to say that, we talk, once again, we talk a lot about the Robla family, and I can think of no better opportunity no better evidence of it. You have Michelle Crisp, who came to us as a teacher, has grown up as a teacher in this district, and has been phenomenal inside the classroom, outside of the classroom, and has done a lot to help us to do things that we would not have been able to do without her. And then Andrea Rodriguez, talk about literally keeping it in the family. I will just say it is an honor to have you working with us, to have you leading one of our school sites. And I will say this, I'm hoping you do better than this guy. And that's not a put down to him. It just means you have really high bar, but we have full confidence that you will meet it and exceed it.
Second.
On that note, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Okay, now we will move on to presentations and information, facilities update.
And to celebrate, we're going to cancel the facilities update.
I'm hurt.
Sorry.
I so look forward to the facilities updates. Okay, and on that note, we'll move on to 2022-2023 school plan for student achievement updates.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's that time of year that we start working on the plans for the 23-24 school year. The principals at all the school sites have been working on them diligently, and tonight we have one of our principals who's going to present her plan to you. I'm going to give just a little overview because it's the state of California in education, so there's still changes and things happening. So I just wanted to share a little bit, and also for some of our new board members to make sure everybody understands what these plans are and what they're for.
She got it.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of overview for the requirements because as we used to know the single plan for student achievement, and what we're talking about now is the school plan for student achievement. So I just kind of want to clarify some of that for everyone, just so everybody understands kind of where we're at and where we're at in terms of where we came from. And then there's a new requirement under our plans this year that's called the additional targeted support and improvement. So I'd like to share and explain that with you. And then once I'm done, Ms. Crisp will give her presentation of her plan for Taylor Street School. And then in our next meeting on May 24th, the other 4 school sites will give their presentations on their plans. Okay. So the school plans are a requirement both under state and federal law. And historically, all of our school sites are Title I schools. So I do this all the time. I write myself these wonderful notes and I look at them. Okay, so historically, we wrote our school plans because all of our schools in the Robla School District are Title I schools that run school-wide programs. In 2018, with ESSA and the recertification, there was a new requirement under the state level and for state LCFF funding purposes. So in order to align what was happening with the state and what was happening with the federal government, they took the single plan for student achievement and it became the school plan for student achievement. And it now meets both the requirements under ESSA for federal funding and for state funding for schools. So for the plans for the schools, I'll come back to that for a second. The plans originally, when we did school site Title I school-wide plans, that was more about the verifying and how we are using our Title I funds. But now under this new requirement, it's also part of the comprehension of looking at school improvements and how schools are doing at the school level. So we have the LCAP, we write that plan, which is our plan for at the district level, and we have our accountability under the LCAP or the Local Control Accountability Plan. The schools have the school plan for student achievement, most commonly called the SIPSA or SPSA, and that's the school level. So there are two levels of accountability. And for the school plans, there's something called continued support and improvement and additional targeted support and improvement. Eventually, there'll be a third level called targeted support and improvement. So that will fall in between the comprehensive support and the additional targeted support. But with COVID and things that have been happening with the dashboard, that is currently not in play. What we currently have is comprehensive support and improvement, that's the higher level, and then additional targeted support improvement, which is the lower level of looking at student groups. Okay, so as with the 2022 dashboard, we have 5 schools that all fall under ATSI or additional targeted support improvement for various student groups. And it was a little bit confusing. And so I wanted to share this with you because when you start to look at their plans and you look at some of the data, some of these student groups are very small. And it's based on dashboard data. And we were kind of looking at it and saying, well, how could a student group, for example, at Taylor Street School, the white student group and the African-American student group are less than 30 students. And so they don't truly have dashboard data displayed. So how did they fall into this kind of category? And also because we only had 1 year of data, we only have 2022 data on the dashboard, we don't have 2021 data, the requirements are changed slightly. So there's 2 criteria which you can go into ATSI. So when we're looking at ATSI, we're looking at school level and student group level. A student group has data displayed on the dashboard if that student group at the school level has 30 or more students. If the student group has less than 30 students, we do not see them displayed on the dashboard, except that you will see them in a category that indicates that's why you're not seeing them with specific data for that student group. So when they're looking at ATSI, these are the student groups that we're looking at. And then we're also looking at the different performance indicators on the dashboard. So when we, for example, when we look at Taylor Street School has 4 student groups that were identified for ATSI or additional targeted support and improvement. That was students with disabilities, African American students, white students, and homeless students.
Can I ask a quick question?
You sure can.
Do the students with disabilities get counted twice if they're in another one of those groups, or is each student put into an individual one?
So the students with disability, that group is looked at under each of these different criteria.
Okay.
Okay. And that's kind of an important point because one of the things that we are looking at, as I mentioned earlier, notice, let me see if I can find my pointer. Yep, there we go. It doesn't like my blue. Yeah. Okay, so you see that no performance level? No. Notice all the groups that are over there. So remember I said that the 4 groups that Taylor Street was identified for, it's on the right with no color. You see that in the upper box? I can get a little bit of it. This top box below the dot, and then over here.
That one. We got it.
So if you notice, look at those, all those student groups don't actually show up under English language arts or up under math because the student groups for those two indicators are too small. They're less than 30 students. However, those student groups do show up. Wrong button, sorry. I scared myself. Those student groups do show up over here for chronic absenteeism and for suspension rate. And the reason for that is because the ELA and math is grades 3 through 6. But when you're looking at chronic absenteeism and suspension, you're looking at your entire student population. So they're large enough to be in chronic absenteeism and then suspension, but it's not a large enough group to be under language arts or math, okay? So as I said, Taylor Street had 4 student groups that were identified.
Yeah.
I have to look at my notes here because it took me a long time to get everything put exactly right. So the students with disabilities and African American students, they meet ATSI, Additional Targeted Support and Improvement, because even though they only show up under 2 of the indicators on the dashboard, chronic absenteeism and suspension rates, they fall in that very high category in terms of where their data falls. The white student group falls into ATSI because there's a second category, a second criteria for this school year on how you're identified. And that would be if all your indicators were in the very low or very high for chronic absenteeism or suspension rate, but the negative end of the indicators. If they all fell in that, except for one category, could be the next level, but in a different level. So that everything could be very low on the very far ends, but if one indicator somewhere in the middle, you still could be identified for ATSI. So for example, the white student group, even though they don't have any data over here, they only have 2 indicators. Their indicators are chronic absenteeism and suspension rates. Their chronic absenteeism is very high, and their suspension rates is just high. It's just over 1. So they still were identified. And then the one student group that we have data on everything for is the homeless population. So our homeless population is very high in chronic absenteeism. They fall under that criteria too. They're high in suspension, but they're also very high in ELA and math.
I'm just to be clear. So one's in the box up there for ELA, for English language arts. That's the less purple, the better. And then for the suspension rates and the absenteeism, the less purple, the better, right?
Right. For
Okay.
ELA, you want to be performing high. So you want to be moving to the right and have more bars.
I know. I was just wondering because it said very high there, and then on the ELA, it's like it's the exact opposite side, and it still said very high. So I was just trying to.
Thank you
Right.
for clarifying that.
Okay.
That was
So
okay.
for
Yeah.
chronic absenteeism, you want that number to be low. You don't
Got
want
it.
chronic
Okay.
absent. For suspension, you want that number to be low. For ELA, math, you want those numbers up higher. Yeah,
I
it's a
also
little bit kind of mind twisting sometimes.
And it says example. Is this like true data, or this is just like an example?
This is
of what the
true data. This is
Okay.
true data. Okay. Great questions. Any other questions? Because it did take a little while to try to understand, again, because this is that kind of funky year where they're normally the criteria for CSI or ATSI, comprehensive support and improvement, or additional targeted support and improvement, would be 2 years of data. But we don't have 2 years of data. So what the state did is they said, okay, how are we going to do this? Because under federal law, Every Student Succeeds Act, we have to have accountability. And so this is the plan they came up for this year. So next year, we're going to see things different again. Okay. And so we know now how a school gets into ATSI, or a student group gets into ATSI. So how does the student group actually move out of ATSI? Again, we're kind of in a flux. Normally, because we would have status and change, you would look for a percent change in the data of 0.1 for any of the indicators. But because we are not in a normal year, what we want to see is we want to actually see them no longer meet the criteria to be in ATSI. So what does that look like? So for example, for students with disabilities or African American students, we would want to see a change where that both the chronic and suspension rates move from very high to high. Both have to move because remember, they only have 2 indicators, and you could still be in ATSI if one is very low, excuse me, in this case, one is very high and one is high. So both of them have to move for these 2 student groups. For the white student group, one of their indicators was already high, so it wasn't in the lowest category. So their chronic absenteeism has to move out of very high to high. And then for your homeless students, change from chronic absenteeism from very high to high, or ELA moves from very low to low, or math moves from very low to low. So those are, each student group has kind of different criteria they need to meet in order to get out of ATSI. Any questions about that? Okay, so this is the data that the principals are looking at. They're meeting with their school site councils, the various committees to talk about this data and to come up with action plans. And that's what their school plan is their action plan on how they want to change this data, as well as additional data. When a school is in ATSI, one of the responsibilities of the district is to support them in that process in coming up with strategies and making sure that they're sound strategies that have some proof that they're educationally sound behind them in terms of using it. Same as what we have to do with the LCAP. Not coincidentally, our district is in the district level of accountability called differentiated assistance, and it's in that for one of the reasons is chronic absenteeism, as well as some different student groups for ELA or math and suspension data. So very much kind of mirrors what we're seeing throughout what the school sites have. So the requirements for the school plan is that they have to be informed by the state indicators. It has to be based on school level needs, and there needs to be an assessment to determine what those school level needs are. The interventions or choices that they make for their actions need to be evidence-based, and they need to identify those resource inequities. So for example, we are looking at chronic absenteeism, we're looking at what do we need to do to meet all of the chronic absenteeism needs of our students, but each individual group, is there something in addition that we need to do because there's an inequity of what we're doing? Okay, so for example, really simple one to come up with would be if we saw chronic absenteeism with our English language learners, were we not reaching out in the language that they can understand to make sure that they knew to come to school and providing information? That's a very simple way of saying, looking at an inequity that could exist. Then the plan itself has components in it. So when you look at these plans, they're going to look almost exactly the same in certain parts, or exactly the same in certain parts, because there are certain components that have to be in there. And then some of the things that we talk about are things that we work together as a district in terms of, for example, the chronic absenteeism. And then we share that data out and we work with the school sites in regards to that. And some of the needs, because some of the student groups are the same, some of the needs are the same. So you're going to see some similarity across the plans in that aspect. The area that you're going to see the most differentiation in the plans is going to be in their actual actions that they choose to take. So the legal requirement pieces, very similar in what you see, and then the action areas where you're going to see the most differences. So the plans are going to look a little different than last year because last year we didn't have a dashboard. So the data that you're going to see in the plans this time is very limited and specific. It's limited to dashboard data and some very specific local data that we know we can control, that we can carry from year to year. One of the things that we found last year when we were trying to utilize local data to create plans was that it was like, oh, okay, well, I did this assessment and I thought I could look at T2, but now moving forward, we made a change into what that assessment looks like. So now it's not really apples to apples. So we really tried to stick to those components of our assessment pool that we can really, can see apples to apples and are more consistent. With that, this is an outline of the kind of the process. As I said, today we begin with the presentations. Ms. Crisp will give her presentation for Taylor Street School. On May 24th, we'll have the presentations for our other 4 school sites. You'll have the plans to peruse until June 29th is when we'll actually bring all 5 plans up for an action item at the June 29th meeting. Because the data is 2022 dashboard data, we're already in 2023, so we've already been addressing some of these things, but we're planning for 23-24. There's this funky little timeline, right, that we're looking at some old stuff, trying to plan for the future, but also knowing what we're doing in the middle. We have to use that old data because it's a requirement under ATSI. But they're already responding to that data. And then as we get new data, we usually get the new dashboard data about dashboard we get in November, December, but we can locally look at some CASP data and other components of data prior to that. But that's the time then that if there's any adjustments we need to make, if we have new revelations, if we decide that something isn't working, then the team at their school site decides that they need to make a change, that's when they bring it to you in that update that we usually do in December. Okay, so they do have a component or time, and also the funding comes like about December as well, our final numbers. So the plans dollars are also a preliminary. So this is kind of like, here's my plan, but I know things can change once the 23-24 school year starts. Okay.
Thank you.
And this is our GATE program at Taylor Street doing a Schoolhouse Rock plays. It was really cute. Okay, there's no further questions. I'll have Ms. Chris come up. Okay.
Any questions?
No, all good.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. Thank you guys for voting Andrea and I in for the kind words. I'm already working. See that? Just kidding. So I am here to present the school plan for student achievement for Taylor Street. I put Ms. Hunt on there because she's been with me since we stepped into this role as interim principals in October. So using this evening, we're going to talk about our plan. Using the improvement cycle, we were at the ACT part of it. We knew stepping into this role, we were going to have to help build relationships with the students and the whole community at Taylor Street in order to teach expectations and to support behaviors of our students, which ultimately will help accelerate the academic achievement. How are we going to do this? Through our school climate work through PBIS and SEL, social emotional learning. We school-wide expectations were taught in the classroom and they were hung up in posters. We trained all staff. That was our recess team, our cafeteria staff. Everybody was trained on the school-wide expectations. We held monthly character trait assemblies that I also hosted every month. And those traits included tenacity, kindness, things like that we know our students can absolutely do. In addition, we had Fun Fridays, which they absolutely loved, where the whole school went out. We had music, healthy treats, and fun games that the students do. And we try to do those twice a month if we can. We also have Golden Paws, which are incentives for the students if we catch them being responsible, respectful, safe, and ready to learn. Those are those are given out. And then there's a student store that they can go and purchase little things with the Golden Paws. So it's really a good incentive. We also do shout outs at the assemblies and at morning announcements of those same students that we see just being amazing. We also implemented Playworks, which is a school-wide recess reboot, and it's been amazing. Our yard duties are now called recess team, and it really promotes positive behavior outside on the yard. The students are running games. The recess team understands the expectations. It just really helps with our recess, and we've seen a decrease in behaviors since we started the Playworks. They'll be back at the beginning of the year to kind of get us started for the beginning year, but it's a really great system. And then this one I'm really proud of is we started the restorative room, which is a space for students to go to reflect on behaviors. And it happens through all the lunches from 11 to 1. And it's ran by our 2 mental health specialists. And they're there, they help them kind of just debrief on situations. Instead of just sending them to detention and you stare at the wall, you have the opportunity now to kind of reflect on, hey, maybe next time I could do something a little different. So it's been really amazing. Our two mental health specialists also work one-on-one with students. Oh, yes.
Is the restorative room, because you kind of were talking about detention, is that someplace that kids get sent as a negative, or can kids go there when they just need like a mental break? Okay.
Absolutely, both. It's just alternative. Some sites do like the wall, and we wanted a space for the students to actually reflect. So it's both.
It's not necessarily
No.
a negative thing.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope. And the mental health specialists are really great with there's games in there as well. To help the students overall. Good question. And then our 2 mental health also work with students one-on-one, and then they also have friendship groups and social groups as well with the students. So this is our PBS work, and we want to continue that along with our social emotional learning. I didn't mention the zones of regulation, but that is also part of it in our second step curriculum as well. Also with the school climate, Cindy had mentioned about the attendance and the absenteeism at Taylor Street, and we have 4 groups that fall into this category. In the blue box is our chronic absenteeism rate from the pandemic year, which was 16.3, and then the post-pandemic year, which was 48.3, a huge jump, which is why I wanted to include this white box here, which is our ADA currently for the ethnicity of our current students' data that they are present. The American Indian, 91, the Asian, 95, our Black, 89.3 compared to the district, which is 88.65. So we're improving in that area. Same with the Filipino, Hispanic, and then our white population at 90 as well. So I wanted to show that just to show that we are making gains in that area as well. And how are we doing that?
I have a
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Just for clarification, so
Sure.
the absenteeism rate, so that's the percentage of students who are at school. So 48.3% of the students
Are not at school.
not at school.
Mm-hmm. Last year. That was last year. And that was the overall school percentage. Good question. And then in the white box is the percentage of students at school now. So we're working it, and this is how. We're improving. Taylor is participating in the SCOE's attendance learning community, where I'm messaging parents. They're probably sick of me, but I'm messaging them a lot of attending school, and the students too. We're letting them know that, hey, we want you at school. And we're doing it through incentives, the teachers talking to them. We have awards. We went and got 2 Taylor Street Bears that we named after one of our teachers, Mr. Krongeier, and that's Cinnamon Paw in there with the class that won that week. We do weekly classes, and the teachers wanted us to do the classes that improved over the week, not just the perfect attendance, which we want, but we want to see those classes that are improving. We do weekly class, weekly students, and then monthly class awards as well. So that it's more equitable in how the students are winning and promoting that attendance that we really want you there. And then also increase SART meetings. I've been in quite a bit of SART meetings starting since January, and it's made a difference. It's powerful to be able to speak with families about what's going on and what resources we can provide them so that their child is at school. So those have also increased. So our data, Cindy touched a little bit on this. So our English language arts in the white box is straight from the dashboard from last year. Taylor as a whole was 42 points below standard. Our current district data shows that 30% of the students are at proficiency fluency levels, grades 3 through 6. And then 20% of the students are at grade level with the star reading levels, which is that comprehension piece, also grade 3 through 6. So yeah, we're working it, but we have things that we're working on to help improve, and that's on this slide. So we're going to resume our emphasis on using data to provide extra services for our students inside and outside of the classroom. So that's that tier 1 inside of the classroom with teachers pulling small groups, and then the outside intervention piece that students may get. In addition, we have homework clubs as well after school. Building on the current work in reading and engaging in SCOE, this would be for next year. We have an MOU out for them to come back. They started with us and they had to stop, but they will resume with us. In fact, there's a summer part that our teachers have said they would do to help get us started for next year as well. And that would be in the foundational reading piece, which is important for all grades, not just our K2, but all the grades. And then we implemented this year Win Time, which is what I need. And it's designated ELD instruction, so all the students get it, but then we also have ELA and math in that rotation, and all the teachers are part of this. Our enrichment teachers, our specialists, we have our librarian there, so everybody has a small group of students that they are giving designated instruction to for 30 minutes every day, Monday through Thursday, actually. And then in addition to that, we have our PLST, one of them's in the room now, has been helping us. And our PLC focus was on writing. We did a session with Mr. Krongeyer on writing and connecting that with reading. And we did about 6 of those. It was teacher led and it was very powerful throughout the year. We had that as well. Math. Again, this came from the dashboard. We were 64 points below standard overall at our site. And then with our current teaching data, it shows that we're 35% proficient on that benchmark that we took for grades 3 through 6.
64 points out of what?
A state.
From the standard. So there's a standard that they have to meet, and from that standard, we're 64 points below that.
I've always kind of been confused about this. Is it like a percentage out of like 100 or?
I don't think it's a percentage. You might know better than that, but it's more so there's a point cutoff for the standard that students will meet per grade level. At 3rd grade, I'm just going to give a ballpark. It's like 2,400 or something like that they have to get or score on the test. Overall, for each grade level, we're 64 points below that standard.
Okay. Still doesn't. It's.
Do you remember when I talked about the LPAC, how each level had between 140 and 205 was level 1, and then level 2.
Yeah.
So there's a midpoint that they say here's where standard is, and that for every grade level it's an equivalent point, so it might be 2,543. So if you're 64 points below that number, that's where that comes from.
So what is our number at then?
It varies per grade. So 3rd grade has a certain number, 4th grade has a certain number, 5th grade, and 6th grade. And for
Okay. So it's 64 points out of all grade levels.
Yes.
Well, okay, I thought you meant like on average the entire school is 64 points below. That's what I was trying to figure out. But it's added up. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes some of these things confuse me.
I know. But it's just, and again, we're in low, the low category because you're right, we're below the standard of what we teach. Yeah. I did include this little diagram because I think it's important for us to know the students, they're learning at different modalities, different levels, different abilities. And it's important that we understand that we can teach math in different ways so that we're able to reach all our students. I'm very kinesthetic and visual, so I need to see it and then have manipulative. Most of our kids are like that as well. So just being open to that and letting our teachers know that that's okay, kind of how we're going to push this so that we can hopefully reach all our students in math. Again, improving math, we have our site PLCs in addition to ELA, also with math, focusing on that using educational tools and strategies to increase the student engagement. We want them to like math, we want to like reading, we want all of that. And we can use that using our PLCs focus on how that looks. Again, our win time also focuses on ELA, ELD, and math. That's also in the rotation. County collections is really big this year. We got observations school-wide, so all our teachers got to witness their peers class doing county collections as well. Lesson planning and demos, again, with our PLST, pushing in and helping our teachers lesson plan that. And then again, looking at that data school-wide and at their individual grade level. English proficiency. Again, this came from the dashboard saying that 49.5% of our English language learners at Taylor are making progress towards the English language proficiency. The proportion of Taylor English learner students who improved had no change or dropped roughly matched that of the district. So it's comparable. So our students are performing similar to the district overall. And again, how does this look and what are we doing at Taylor? Really emphasizing ELD, using our classroom teachers during win time, and then our designated ELD time. Also using our English language support teacher. We implemented it at WIN. Small group ELD instructions happening, and then our ELD teachers also pulling the students twice for a second dose daily. So we're getting it both in the classroom and with our ELD teachers. Parent involvement. This has been really key this year. Because again, I've been in contact with a lot of parents through social media. I'm just old school, so I call them newsletters. I've been sending out a lot of those, messenger calls, all calls. And then teachers are also using learning platforms like Class Dojo as well. More opportunities for them to be on campus with teachers, staff, and the principal and students. We hired a couple of our parents this year as well, which has been really great. Welcoming the environment, multilingual signage, so parents know where to go. We established our first ever parent-teacher organization. Teacher came up to me at the beginning of the year and asked for support, and I gave it to her. And we had started off with a small group, and now has grown to almost about 30 parents. So they have been very instrumental in our back-to-school night. We had a harvest festival. They were really great there, and we're having a multicultural day. We'll send out invitations on the 25th. We have mariachi bands and dancers, and it's going to be really great. Each class is doing, they pick their country, and they'll be decorating their class as well. I'm looking forward to that. So the parents have been very instrumental in that. Utilizing our BCOAs also for parent communication. We have African American BCOA on our site in addition to Spanish, Hmong, and Russian. So really utilizing those BCOAs for parent communication as well. And then really provide opportunities for parents to learn how to help students at home. I know sitting in those start meetings have been amazing with the attendance, but also the academic students start doing that as well. And then really just to kind of sum it up for the next year, continue our professional learning of the teaching, the reading for all grades. And again, I mentioned our SCOE MOU, which will be starting actually in the summer. We have an MOU with the Center of District to start a day training before we start school on just the getting them ready for the school year. Increased emphasis on math, concepts through district PD, continuing with that county collection. Really continue with our SEL and PBIS. We need the students there. I mentioned the winners for the attendance. We want them all to be winners because we all want them there every day so they can learn. And then a renewed emphasis, and we're going to do that through parents. Getting them on campus and getting them involved in the student education, both at school and then I just wanted to highlight we did a book night on during the Read Across America, so those were students reading. Down below we had a science assembly. We had a visitor from Santa and his elves as well, really cute. The top picture shows our parent meeting, one of our classrooms, and then the other pictures in our county collection and doing math.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nothing. Thank you for explaining everything.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right, we're going to move on now to action items. Action item 8A, approve SCOE and Main Avenue MOU for 2022, 2023, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, the board will be seeing some of these MOUs over the next few board meetings. We have schools that are just as Ms. Crisp just talked about, really focusing on improving their instructional practices, and very often by having a consultant from SCOE come in and help lead the staff through the discussions and the analysis of the data. it keeps them moving in the right direction. So I know Taylor's planning one. This is Maine's, and I think that Robla is going to do it as well. So it's just part of their plans to improve the work that they're doing at their school.
Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I already entertained a motion, right? Okay.
Yes.
Hearing no further debate, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8B, adopt resolution for the dismissal of certain probationary certificated staff.
So move.
Second.
Move to second. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, approve out-of-state travel request.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Do you want to speak to this?
This is our transportation staff going to a conference in Nevada.
Will we have transportation for the summer school program?
We will. We will have summer school transportation.
Okay, I was just confirming.
Sure. There's that. That's not why they're going to Nevada, though.
No, but is
I'm just teasing you. No, yeah, you're right.
Okay, and we have subs for that time?
It's the director and the trainer, so they don't generally drive routes.
Any further discussion? Hearing no, move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8D, approve marquee sign at Main Avenue Elementary School.
Second.
Moved to second. Is there any discussion?
I want to tell you a story. 20 years ago, when I was principal at Main Avenue, our student council scraped together every penny they could to buy the marquee that is still there, and it was secondhand when we bought it. So we definitely got our money's worth, but it is time for Main Avenue to get a new digital sign like all the other schools have.
Any additional discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to item 9, board member requests for future agenda items or reports.
Nothing at this time?
Nothing over here.
Nothing at this time.
I don't know if it'd be good for a report. I don't know when the last time we talked about, in particular for physical education. I know we had set a goal a while ago to try and get our physical education time up to up to at least the state minimum. Kind of like a progress report on where we are and how that planning is.
We can do that. Yeah, we have definitely. We got a PE teacher in the room, and they have all been working very hard to improve those minutes at their schools, and we'd be happy to give the board an update on that.
Excellent. Thank you. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you everyone for coming.